Wellington famously called his redcoats the scum of the earth. But were they? Well, like all good British people, they did like to fight, and they certainly enjoyed a drink. But who really were these warriors who helped to defeat Napoleon's army? Let's find out.
Now's your time.
So I wanted to start today's episode by reading from Richard Holmes's excellent book, Redcoat. For me, the excerpt I'm about to read really does a great job of introducing the British soldier of the Napoleonic War. He's not shaved this morning, and from the look of things, he's shaved neither yesterday nor the day before. His bushy sideburns end in a forward sweep just below the ear, and emerge from a battered black shako fronted with an oval brass plate and topped with a white over-red pom-pom which has seen better days. His red coat, waist length in front with short skirts at the back, is closed by 10 pewter buttons grouped in twos with a broad oblong of white worsted lace framing the buttonholes. He stands 5'6" tall, taller than many of his comrades, and now he himself is a beast of burden. Broad buff leather crossbelts meet on his chest with an oval plate at their intersection. Thinner buff straps run down from his shoulders and across his chest, and a brown leather strap lies across his right shoulder with the thick canvas belt of a haversack alongside it. We can see, even from the front, the edges of his black canvas pack, and the grey greatcoat strapped on top of it stands well above his shoulders. A black cartridge box hangs at his right hip, and bayonet, scabbard and round wooden water bottle at his left. His hands have the same worn leather hue and texture as his face, and their short fingernails are black-edged. They bear a dozen new cuts and old scars, and his right thumb is thickened with a mighty callus. His left hand hangs loosely by his side, and while his right, thumb and forefinger apart, rests lightly on the bright steel barrel of his upright musket. Its 39-inch barrel is tipped with a bayonet, 16 inches of triangular steel, its point level with his shako plate. There's an animal tang about him which even that fine natural deodorant, wood smoke, cannot conceal. In part it stems from the fact that he has worn the same jacket for 6 months, and it smells powerfully of old sweat laced with the bad egg stink of black powder. Well, I've come outside, it's a bit windy. So the men who donned the scarlet jacket of the British Army were a fascinating and complicated group of men. Marshal Soult said of them after the Battle of Albuera, "There's no beating these British soldiers. They were completely beaten and the day was mine, but they did not know it and would not run." These men who would not run had joined the army for many reasons. Some were patriots keen to fight the French, others were drunks and criminals with no other options. Many were simply escaping the boredom of life on a farm or in a factory, picked up by unscrupulous recruiting sergeants in the local public house. After taking the king's shilling, the recruit would be whisked before the local magistrate, where he would give his name, trade, place and date of birth. He would then swear that he was not already a member of the Army, Navy or Marines. He would formally choose at that point if he wished to serve for 7 years without a pension, or for life with the promise of a pension once he retired, if he behaved well, of course. A large proportion of Wellington's best soldiers had transferred from the militia. The militia regiments were full-time home service battalions, and their men were often of excellent quality with high standards of drill and discipline. They were induced to transfer to regular regiments with the offer of a large cash bounty, or simply for the honour and glory of serving their country and potentially building a successful career abroad, fighting the nation's wars.
I don't know what they'll do to the enemy. By God, they frighten me.
Good old Nosey, who said he didn't love the men? The pay of a private soldier wasn't good, even by the standard of the times. A shilling a day, which is what they earned, was half of that earned by an agricultural labourer, and only a quarter of the daily wage paid to a skilled textile worker. To make matters worse, the army also deducted money from the soldiers' pay to cover food and other expenses, leaving them with very little. A bit like being married.
Spoken like a true man.
Discipline in the ranks could be really harsh. Men would be flogged for what we would consider minor offences. In fact, there are cases of over 1,000 lashes being given. Can you even imagine the pain of that, or what state your body would be in afterwards? Horrific. But the fact is that many officers, and even a surprising number of men, felt that flogging was an important tool for maintaining discipline and the efficiency of the army. And there were other punishments, even worse punishments, available. Charles Oman, the great historian, said 78 British soldiers in the Peninsula were shot for desertion, while another 40 were hung after being found guilty of a general court-martial for other crimes. According to one PhD study I found online, there was a staggering 78,000 cases of desertion in the British Army between 1803 and 1815. That's an amazing number, though it should be remembered that it said a third to a half of those actually did eventually return to their units.
You should be flogged raw for this.
So we've learnt a little bit about the redcoats, but were they really scum? I think, as with all debates in history, that's a complicated question to answer. The problem, of course, was booze and plunder. As I've discussed on this channel before, and we saw at Vittoria and Badajoz, both the best and worst of the redcoats could come out, sometimes within the space of an hour of each other, where they would display incredible bravery and then a terrible willingness to loot, to drink to excess, and sometimes, sadly, even rape and murder. But let's not forget that criminals generally don't make good soldiers. They're too independent, they're unwilling to follow orders, and they don't like being part of a team. Therefore, I don't think I'm being too generous in saying that despite some pretty serious lapses in discipline, on the whole the redcoats were far from scum. They were in fact highly motivated, well-trained warriors who displayed exceptional group cohesion, an ability to survive despite irregular food, extreme weather and a variety of illnesses. Therefore, we should look back with pride at what was arguably the greatest British army ever fielded.